Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the FC's Football channel. And today we are back with another video, and today I'm going to go through my squad review of the 2021-22 season and put it into a tier list basically. So it's fair to say it wasn't a great season. We came 6th in the end, behind obviously Man City, who eventually won the Premier League, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs and then Arsenal. I believe it was our lowest point tally ever in a Premier League season. So don't expect a lot of good ratings to a lot of these players, but I guess we'll get straight into it. And number one, David De Gea. Where is David De Gea going to go? Well, I'm going to put him in A tier. Obviously, won Player of the Year for Manchester United. Also won January Player of the Month. He had a good season, didn't he? In 45 games, 10 clean sheets. Sorry, not 8, which is all right. I mean, you're looking at the defence, and obviously we'll get to the defenders in a minute. They definitely haven't helped David De Gea this season. Look, we know about David De Gea's deficiencies. He's not the modern goalkeeper that the likes of Alisson and Henderson are. In the long run and long term, yes, he does need replacing, but for what we needed this season, I think David De Gea was that. He was fantastic. A lot. Making countless world-class saves, and I believe if you go through all my watch-alongs and you look, the match reactions or the Let's Talks, what they were called at the end, come the end of the season, he got the most man of the matches, and it says a lot that your goalkeeper is consistently getting man of the match. I think he goes into A tier, and I don't think many people can really argue and complain about that. Next up, we have Dean Henderson. Dean Henderson, look, he never really played 3 games this season. 0 clean sheets. I think it's hard to, and going to be harsh to really give him a bad rating. I don't think he was terrible in any game. Not amazing. Obviously, shouldn't have been starting over De Gea, and that's why he didn't. I'll just throw him into C tier. Next up, Victor Lindelof, the first of the defenders. Again, we've got another player going into C tier. He's been okay. Much better next to Rafael Varane than he ever has been really next to Harry Maguire. Look, for me, the defenders on a whole haven't been great. I think he's been one of our better defenders this season. Certainly. Played 35 games. Very consistent performer. Just not amazing, not terrible. I think a C tier is all right. Like I said, much better next to Varane. He's done all right. Next up, Eric Bailly. Look, I've made my opinion on Eric Bailly over the season very, very clear. I'm not his biggest fan. I think what Bailly does and what makes people so impressed with Eric Bailly is the fact he will make a mistake or will cause a chance for the opposition, but because he then puts it out and kind of makes that last-ditch recovery challenge, he then gets loads of plaudits. I think he's a calamity, and I think he's very inconsistent. I mean, he can play well one game or play seemingly well and then be horrific the next. You look back to Atalanta, he made some mistakes that led to Atalanta chances. He then put them out with a great last-ditch challenge. He got mass plaudits. I think I even gave him some plaudits in that game. We then go to Man City, scores an own goal. Bailly, massively inconsistent, and he's going in tier D, and as a player this summer, if we're looking to sell him, which I believe we are, I'm more than happy to see the back of. Next up, Phil Jones. He shouldn't still be here. He's played 2 games worth of minutes. Similar to Dean Henderson, I guess you could argue that you should probably put him in C tier, but I'm going to stick him in E. He's just not good enough, is he? Like I said, shouldn't be here. I don't want him here. Even though he's played 2 games worth of minutes, some of those games have been horrific. That first half against Liverpool, dreadful. I believe he also played against Man City, wasn't great either. Goes into E tier. Harry Maguire is next up, and look, it's got to be said, it's a disappointing season for Harry Maguire. 37 games played. He's played a lot of the season in all competitions, and it's just not good enough, has he? Was really hoping he would kick on from last season where he was quite good. I mean, wasn't amazing, but come the end of that season, he was very good, really. Fantastic World Cup, and We missed him at the end of last season in that Europa League final. I think we all could agree on that. Or a lot of people at least said that. I mean, I wasn't totally on board with that. But a lot of people did say we miss Harry Maguire come the end of the season. Like I said, fantastic World Cup. And we was really hoping we'd see kind of more of a return on investment on Harry Maguire. Obviously, after we've paid such a big fee to bring him in to Manchester United, obviously that £80 million, we was really hoping this season would be the season we saw why we spent so much on him. We didn't really see that. Very disappointing with Maguire this season. Alongside Maguire, that was meant to be a perfect partnership. Someone with pace that can make up and cover for him, sweep up behind Maguire, and it never really worked out. A D for him for me. Rafael Varane is up next. I think he's one of our better performers this season. He had a good season, but not spectacular. We know the heights of Rafael Varane and how good he can be. I don't think he quite hit them this season. I thought he was our best defender this season by a mile, but I think that says more about how bad our other defenders were as opposed to how good he was. He was a good player. Very good signing. Very happy with the signing. He's going to go into A tier. If this is how good he was this season, imagine how good he can be next season. Next up is the Portuguese international, Diego Dallo. I'm going to put him in D tier. Look, I know that's going to be controversial. I haven't been astounded by him. I think a lot of people have hyped up certain aspects of his game. His attacking ability, his crossing ability. I don't see it. I really, really don't. I think a lot of people have given Dallo a lot of hype this season, plainly because it's not Aaron Wan-Bissaka. He's played 29 games this season and has done little to fuck all, really. I think a lot of performances that he puts in, you see Wan-Bissaka do that, and then you'd be slating Wan-Bissaka, but because it's Diego Dallo, he gets hyped. I don't think Diego Dallo's had a good season particularly. D. Luke Shaw, again going in D tier. A huge step down from last season. Fantastic in the Euros. Fantastic last season in the Premier League under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This season hasn't hit the same heights. Injury issues have affected him. Played 27 games this season. You look at Diego Dallo, who's played 29. More games than him. Same with Varane. Again, Varane's had injury problems. Dallo only really became a first-team regular when Ralf Rangnick came in. And the fact that Luke Shaw played less games than them and less games than other players in this squad, considering he was a first-team regular, arguably the first name on the team sheet last season, given he was our Players' Player of the Year and was one of, if not our best player last season. Very disappointing from Luke Shaw this season. I hope next season, under Erik ten Hag, them injury problems will kind of go away again. And we can see Luke Shaw that was the best left back in the Premier League, in the Euros and in the world last season. Alex Tellez, obviously another left back, and he's going in D again. To be honest, I just don't think this guy's very good. I mean, going forward, some of his deliveries, they're pretty good. Apart from that, he's just a good looking guy, isn't he? Like, 25 games played, and he's had some highlights, some moments. Look, that volley against Villarreal in particular, probably his high point this season. Nothing to shout about, nothing to write home about. If he was to be sold this summer, I wouldn't care. And I think what's most damning on Alex Tellez, and I think you can say the same about Diego Dallo, after poor seasons from Luke Shaw, and obviously we'll get to Wan-Bissaka in a moment, I'm still not looking at both Tellez and Dallo and going, right, they should be starting week in, week out, especially Alex Tellez. I'm still thinking, right, Luke Shaw should be in as soon as he's back fit. And I think that's quite damning on Alex Tellez. Wan-Bissaka gets a D, another poor season. I do think he's been overly criticised and overly hated this season. I don't think he's been as bad as a lot of people have made out. I think, again, it goes back to what I said about Diego Dallo, how if Dallo would put in a performance Wan-Bissaka would often make this season, and Dallo would get massively hyped for it, while Wan-Bissaka would get absolutely vilified and criticised for. Definitely not at the level he was last season or the season before that. And I think that's kind of a common occurrence for this Manchester United team, just not good enough and kind of taken a step down from where we were last season. Paul Pogba is up next. Disappointing season from Paul Pogba. Started the season so well with that 4 assists on the opening day against Leeds United. Looked like he was going to kind of propel us to a Premier League title charge under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But injuries hit, poor performances came through, especially in the big games. Too often seeing red. Liverpool, he got red card against Liverpool in the first game and then came off after 7 minutes was it in the second. Not good enough really. 1 goal and 9 assists in 27 games. It's not an awful record, but not really good enough. He gets a D. Next up is Juan Mata, and I'm going to be honest, he's going to have to go in D. He's hardly been used, really. He's played 12 games this season, 5 matches worth of minutes. So, suggests he hasn't played. Inconsistent, really. He played some fantastic games. Was it Brentford? When he started, I think it was Brentford. He was absolutely fantastic. Next game, dreadful. He's just kind of... I don't know what it is with Matt. Is it... Obviously, his age is going to play a factor. System, a lot of things. Matt just doesn't suit how this Manchester United team were playing. I think under Erik ten Hag, he could have been more useful. But come next season, I don't really think you're going to find me wishing we still had Juan Mata at the club. Like I said, he gets a D. Next up, we have Jesse Lingard. What did he do this season? Scored at the London Stadium. Obviously, I was there to watch that game. And then vanished. Shocking end to the season as well. I think it was a disgrace his end to the season. Not showing up in cameo appearances. No effort at all. 22 games. Only 6 worth of minutes, to be fair. 2 goals, 1 assist. Just not great. Again, the only reason I'd be somewhat sad he's gone is he's just another player we have to replace, and realistically, he's a player that should be putting in the hard graft, working hard for this Manchester United team. Considering how long he's been here, he's a Manchester United fan. And under Ten Hag, maybe we could have seen more from him. But he's got to get an E. Next up, we have Fred. And it's not a nice thing to say, but he's probably been our best midfielder this season. I mean, obviously, we've got a few more midfielders to go, but he has to be up there, doesn't he, really? And that's quite shocking because the guy can't pass. He can't pass a parcel. But he works his socks off. He tries his best. He is what he calls himself. He's the piano carrier. He will run down plays. He will try and win that ball. And he does do that quite well, to be fair. And then he gives it off to the better players. Realistically, I don't think in this Manchester United team you can have a player like that. You need to be better than him. You can have piano carriers, but they need to be better than what Fred is. Fred can't pass. He's too small, really, to play in a Manchester United midfield for me. You've got to be better in the air. And he's just not that. I think especially look at his start to the season. Horrific. Shouldered off the ball against Everton. Cost us a goal. I believe against Wolves when we beat them. Was it second game of the season? Should have conceded due to Fred just not being strong enough. I think Wan-Bissaka cleared it off the line for that goal. And maybe Varane got back. He's not really good enough. But he's done okay. It's probably been his best season in a United shirt. Which, is it saying much? I think what the biggest compliment I can kind of pay to Fred this season is, I think last season he was stuck in with McTominay with that McFred. I think this season you can kind of break Fred out of that and say Fred's been quite good. 36 games, ever present really in the team. He's gonna get a C. Next up is the Portuguese Magnifico, really, Bruno Fernandez. Obviously, he got our Player of the Season last year, the Sir Matt Busby Award. This season, not hit the same heights. And again, I keep having to say that because it's just kind of how this season has gone. Hero ball and wasteful is the 3 words I would use to describe Bruno Fernandez's season. Has missed a lot of chances this season. Middlesbrough in the FA Cup comes to mind. Basically, virtually an open goal, and he's missed it. Nowhere near the level we've seen of him since coming in January 2020, was it? Very disappointing. And that's been said. He's still scored 10 goals and 14 assists in 46 games. That's 24 goal involvement in 46 games. That's not a bad statistic. But when you look at the games and the performance levels, too wasteful. Too often is he trying to play that hero ball over the top to a Marcus Rashford, to a Cristiano Ronaldo, to Sancho, and it's falling short. Look at the final day of the season. I think it's a perfect example of Bruno Fernandez, really. Gets the ball on the half volley, tries to just volley it over his shoulder, trying to play that hero ball when it weren't on, and he's given it to Wilfried Zaha, who was scored. Like I said, he's missed a lot of big chances. Like I mentioned, Middlesbrough missed that penalty against Aston Villa. He gets a D. Nemanja Matic is up next, and I'm going to say he has been our best midfielder this season. I'm going to give him a B. I think when he's played, he's generally done quite well. I've been quite happy with Nemanja Matic this season. The only issue with Matic is he's just too old. He can't consistently play. And that's the big issue. And that's why he has obviously left the club and will be joining, well, by the looks of it, Roma and Jose Mourinho. He's played 32 times this season for Manchester United, but only 18 games worth of minutes, which is quite concerning when you look at the other players on this list. McTominay's played 37, and Bruno Fernandez 46, Fred 36. Just not enough games really for Nemanja Matic. When you're looking at how many games he's actually played minutes-wise, I think McTominay's, while he's played 37 games, he's minutes-wise he's played closer to 33. That's nearly double Matic. That's the only issue with Matic. But like I said, when he's played, I think he's done well. Especially at the end of the season, he was massive for us. He was conducting the play. He was showing us all the reasons why Scott McTominay isn't good enough. Next up is Donnie Van Der Beek. Obviously went out on loan to Everton. I think he done generally all right. Again, when he did play, just didn't really play enough or at all, really. Only 4 games worth of minutes before he was loaned out to Everton. I would give him a D. I think he had some good performances. When he came on against Watford, I remember, obviously, we did lose that game quite heavily. But he, alongside an Anthony Martial and Jaden Sancho in that second half, was bright sparks before Harry Maguire got sent off. I think Donnie Van Der Beek, under Erik ten Hag, should get more time and another chance, and I think he will. I spoke about Scott McTominay just a moment ago. Here we are. He's getting an E. He is awful. The guy stinks. How he's consistently played for Manchester United this season, I will never know. He's awful. He can't pass. He doesn't offer anything. Like I said, 37 games, about 33 games worth of minutes, and I don't know really what he offers, apart from for passion. He runs around, commits fouls all day long, doesn't show for the ball despite playing in a defensive midfield role where that is one of the most important jobs and roles in that position, to come and show yourself to the centre-back and offer yourself and kind of dictate play. He can't do that. The guy can't pass. He's just awful. He can't take risks either. He gets the ball. He does that shitty little hop thing he does where he puts his foot on the ball, pivots on it, and then plays the simple pass. Not good enough. Passion merchant. He gets an E. Don't want to see him ever play for United again. But now we get to the forwards. And we have Mr. CR7 Cristiano Ronaldo. And he has to go an 8 here, doesn't he, really? Again, like De Gea, he has his flaws. There is no doubt about that. But when we've really suffered for goals, Bruno Fernandez with 10 goals was our second top goal scorer. It says a lot, really. We haven't had a consistent goal scorer apart from Cristiano Ronaldo, who in 39 games has 24 goals and 3 assists. Top player. And like I said, he has his limitations. Yes, he might not be a player that looks to press religiously. Yes, he might not be amazing in link-up play. But you give him a chance, chances are he's going to take it. And that's what he's done. The amount of last-minute moments he's produced for us. Atalanta, Villarreal, both in the Champions League, just to name 2. The guy has been our best player this season. Won our Sir Matt Busby Award. Level now with David De Gea for the players to have won it the most times. Chances are next season he'll probably break that record and kind of take it into his own. Won Player of the Month twice, the only player to win it multiple times this season, both winning it in September and April. Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, he's in A tier. Next up, we have Anthony Martial. Look, let's put him in D tier. He hasn't played this season, really, has he? 1 goal in four games worth of minutes before he was loaned out to Sevilla this season. I want to see him play and brought back into the first team next season, although it doesn't look like that will be the case. Been hit by injuries this season, but also he's just not been played. One fancied under Oliver Solskjaer, and Ralf Rangnick played him here and there, really, but not great. And obviously, like I said, was loaned out to Sevilla. He had some brilliant performances. Everton, I think he was fantastic. In that first half before he obviously got injured, obviously scored his goal in that game. West Ham, he came on for the last 10 minutes or so, was by far the best player on that pitch. He absolutely terrified West Ham that day, and obviously he was the one that created the chance for Cavani to then put it across to Marcus Rashford to win us that game 1-0 in the end. He gets a D because he just simply hasn't played enough, but I don't think he's had a particularly bad season. Just not played enough, really. Marcus Rashford, he gets an E. Awful. Stinky season from him. I don't think he was great last season. But the stats kept him in the first team this season. 5 goals and 2 assists in 32 games. That's kind of meant to be his thing. Last season, like I said, wasn't great performance-wise, but he made up for it because he would just put the ball in the net or get an assist. He hasn't done that, and the performance levels have just got worse. But what is most criminal about Marcus Rashford this season is the lack of effort come the end of the season. There were games where he was walking. There was it Middlesbrough? It might have been Middlesbrough again. I think it was it Alanger? Ran down the wing, shot. It bounces back out to Rashford, and he's staring. He's watching the ball. No, it was Villa. It was Villa in the cup, I believe. The ball bounces back up to him. If he chances it, he scores a tap-in. Watches it. Watches Emi Martinez and Tyrone Mings collect it. Lack of effort. Lazy. More than happy to ship him off next season, to be honest. I don't want anything to do with him anymore. I think he can't cross. He's a one-trick pony. He likes to run at players, run into blind alleys, head down, looking at the ball. Massively overhyped. E. Edinson Cavani also joins Marcus Rashford in E, and thank God he is leaving. The guy's been shocking. 2 goals and 1 assist in 20 games this season. Now, while that 20 games haven't been... Well, he hasn't played 20 games worth of minutes. For a striker, for Mr. Movement, that is shocking still. Only 2 goals in 20 games. He's never made himself available because he didn't want to risk getting injured and kind of potentially losing out on that next big move. Apparently he was annoyed that Cristiano Ronaldo was signed, took his number 7 and became the first team striker over Cavani. Obviously, the rumours were that Cavani wanted to go to Barcelona and Barcelona were interested in him. I wish he went to Barcelona. I said that last season and I remain correct for me. Cavani gets an E. Jaden Sancho is next up, and I'm going to give him a B. Similar to Rafael Varane in a sense that I think he was very good this season, but not at his very best and not hit the heights that we know Jaden Sancho is capable of. He was comfortably our best winger this season, and alongside Cristiano Ronaldo, kind of carried that front line for us, especially come the end of the season. He was creative. He was the only real player that when he got the ball, you were on the edge of your seat. You didn't know what he was going to do. While his output wasn't kind of amazing and was very comparable to a Marcus Rashford, scoring 5 goals, scored and got 3 assists in 38 games, what you can say is the performance levels were polar opposites. Marcus Rashford weren't playing well. Jaden Sancho, on the other hand, was playing fantastically, and just the output didn't recognise that. But when you're playing well and the output isn't quite there, as long as the performance levels are there, output will eventually come. And that's what you can say about Jaden Sancho. And that's why I'm happy with Jaden Sancho's season. And that's why I'm happy to put him in B tier. Finally, we have Anthony Alanger. And look, ultimately, come the end of the season, I think what the resounding opinion is he's not good enough to start for Manchester United right now. But I think we knew that. Obviously, at the start of the season, I was very passionate and said in pre-season, I want to see Anthony Alanger given a chance this season. He looked fantastic in pre-season. And I think in moments this season, he was fantastic. He was great. However, he's just not good enough, is he? He's still a young player and he was thrown into the deep end due to other key players, like the likes of Marcus Rashford. Obviously, we know what happened with Mason Greenwood and we're not going to talk about him in this video. He was forced into the first team. He's always tried his best. His best isn't quite good enough, but in some games he was fantastic. I thought, look, he gave us a chance against Atletico Madrid, but at the end of the day, 27 games, 3 goals, 2 assists isn't quite the level you need to be. But look, he's always improving. He's clearly working hard in the gym. Scored a fantastic goal for Sweden. I'm putting him in C tier. I don't think you can really hate on the guy. He's not a first team player. No one expected him to be a first team player this season. Thrown in at the deep end and he's done his very, very best. And he's done better than the likes of Cavani, Rashford did this season. And for that, you've got to just say, well done. So, that is my completed tier list. So just quickly to run through the list one last time. So in A, we have both Cristiano Ronaldo and David De Gea. In B tier, we have Rafael Varane, we have Jaden Sancho, and we have Nemanja Matic. In C tier, we have Dean Henderson, we have Victor Lindelof, we have Fred, and we have Anthony Alanger. In D tier, we have Bailly, Maguire, Dallo, Shaw, Tellez, Wan Bissaka, Paul Pogba, Juan Mata, Bruno Fernandez, Donnie Van Der Beek, and Anthony Martial. And in E tier, we have Phil Jones, Jesse Lingard, Scott McTominay, Marcus Rashford, and Edison Cavani. Now, if you did enjoy this video, please do hit that like button below and subscribe if you are new and you haven't already. That would be greatly appreciated. And let me know what your tier list was and who do you think has been our best player and who do you think has been our worst player this season. That's it from me. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you all in the next one. In a bit. Peace.